I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
The Alien.
Perfect organism. Its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility.
These face-hugging, chest-bursting, acid-bleeding, extra-jawed extraterrestrial nightmares found their way into the hearts of audiences to become iconic sci-fi creatures, thanks to Ridley Scott's tense 1979 thriller Alien, and then James Cameron's more action-oriented spin with the 1986 film Aliens. But which of those movies is the ultimate alien experience?
It's just gonna be a stand-up fight, sir, or another bug hunt.
There's only one way to find out. Face Off! Disclaimer. No actual science was used to determine the outcome of Face Off. Your results may vary. Please do not consume Face Off if you are allergic to conjecture, opinion, or general nonsense. In Alien, the crew of the commercial towing vessel Nostromo is awakened early from hypersleep to investigate a distress signal, only to find they're the ones in distress when a mysterious creature latches onto a guy's face before making a messy dinnertime exit. The frightening beast rapidly grows and prowls the cramped corridors of the ship, eradicating the human inhabitants one by one, before Warrant Officer Ellen Ripley manages to finish it. Aliens begins as drifting sole survivor Ripley is brought out of hypersleep 57 years later. Not long after that, she accompanies a team of colonial marines to investigate a corporate terraforming colony on the Rainy Rock where the lethal xenomorph was first discovered. Unsurprisingly, things go off the rails in spectacularly violent and explosive ways.
We're some real pretty shit now, man!
This round goes to...
You got that?
Besides Sigourney Weaver in her first big movie role as Ripley, Alien assembled a half-dozen established and respected actors for the relatable blue-collar space crew, with Tom Skerritt as Captain Dallas, Veronica Cartwright as nervous navigator Lambert, John Hurt as executive officer and alien incubator Kane, Ian Holm as science officer Ash, and Harry Dean Stanton and Yaphet Kotto as engineer buddies Brett and Parker. Aliens has a pre-Mad About You Paul Reiser as company weasel Burke, newcomer Carrie Henn as precocious survivor Newt, and a handful of reliable recurring Cameron collaborators Michael Biehn, Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton, and Jeanette Goldstein. Most of the remaining cast is filled out with uniformed randos, whose primary contribution is to the human body count. This round goes to...
There's only been good on the ship.
Before boarding the Nostromo, Ridley Scott's only feature was the period drama The Duelists. He went on to a diverse and generally impressive filmography, with some acclaimed movies, and a few that were not. He eventually returned to the Alien series with a pair of unnecessarily expository prequels. James Cameron's first big feature, after the Roger Corman horror cheapie Piranha 2: The Spawning, was the time travel thriller The Terminator, the success of which got him behind the camera on Aliens. Cameron followed that with groundbreaking visual effects and crowd-pleasing blockbusters, including 2 of the top 3 highest-grossing movies in cinema history. This round goes to... In Alien, for the most part, Ripley remains the calm, cool-headed voice of reason among the dwindling Nostromo crew. She wisely wants to keep her contaminated colleague in quarantine, and has the correct instinct that Ash is not trustworthy. She shows concern for the safety of the crew, prioritizing their lives over the value of the vessel and the shipment they're hauling, and her fortitude finally spells the end of the Space Invader. And perhaps most importantly, depending on your fondness for pets, she makes it a point to rescue the cat. James Cameron may not have created the character of Ripley, but he completely embraced her personality and determination for the sequel. Aliens initially finds Ripley suffering PTSD from her close encounter, but when she tags along as a civilian advisor with a platoon of Marines who quickly find themselves in over their heads, she's the one who keeps it together. Hard to believe the studio originally didn't want Weaver and Ripley back for the sequel, especially when her protective maternal tenacity gives us one of the greatest moments in movie history.
Get away from her, you bitch!
This round goes to...
Another glorious day in the Corps.
The lean, mean xenomorph sprung from the disturbing artwork of Swiss surrealist H.R. Giger, who officially joined the production to also design the eggs, facehugger, and chestburster forms, along with the desiccated space jockey and his bizarre biomechanical spacecraft. Although it's hardly seen in all its otherworldly glory in the movie, the alien, alternately known as Kane's son or Big Chap,
This son of a bitch is huge.
would forever change how sci-fi and horror monsters were created and considered. James Cameron used Giger's design as a springboard, but didn't actually involve the artist himself for the sequel. Instead, Cameron and FX creator Stan Winston made subtle changes to the basic alien forms, and further expanded the biological concepts to include a towering and terrifying alien queen. This astonishing animatronic monstrosity certainly made an impression, but it wouldn't exist without the sleek and unique species introduced in Ridley Scott's film. This round goes to... Ash is the Nostromo's medical officer who disobeys orders and breaks quarantine to bring an infected crew member on board. He also turns out to be a traitorous, milk-filled machine man sent by the company to deliver the deadly specimen at all costs. He's literally a corporate drone. He's also a bit unstable, which necessitates manual deactivation.
And the U2s always were a bit twitchy.
The Marines have a synthetic,
I prefer the term artificial person myself.
named Bishop, who's the resident technician and five-finger fillet expert. Ripley is initially not a fan, but he proves indispensable by remote piloting a spare dropship and pulling everyone's asses out of the fire at the last moment. Not bad for an artificial person, at least until Queen takes Bishop. This round goes to... The crew of the Nostromo has laser pistols at their disposal, but while they were featured in promotional images and glimpsed during the movie, they're never actually used against the unwelcome passenger. They also have cattle prods, for whatever that's worth, and Parker rigs up some incinerator units to keep the threat at bay with bursts of fire. But Ripley ultimately slays the monster with a handy harpoon gun and a blast from the shuttle engines. The Colonial Marines are fully loaded with pistols, shotguns, flamethrowers, high-powered smart guns, and of course, a soldier's best friend.
This is an M41A pulse rifle, 10mm, then over and under 30mm pump-action grenade launcher.
Great. Anything else?
We got nukes. We got knives, sharp sticks.
Knock it off, Hudson.
Unfortunately, these troopers are also armed with overconfidence, and all their firepower is meaningless once the cunning critters come crawling out of the walls. This round goes to...
Absolutely badasses.
Ridley Scott takes a slow, methodical approach to revealing the creature, squeezing an almost excruciating degree of tension. The chestburster scene is rightfully celebrated as one of the most shocking screen moments in history, and the grisly mealtime emergence doesn't even happen until halfway through the movie. And once the alien has grown to full form, the dark design of the claustrophobic interior gives the intruder plenty of potential hiding places. Oh my god, there it is! The movie's original script was titled Star Beast. The final product could have been named Space Anxiety. Unlike the first movie's deep space, haunted house atmosphere, for the sequel, James Cameron cranks up the levels of pretty much everything. While the arrival and exploration of the deserted colony carry a palpable sense of dread, we also know that a group of gung-ho soldiers is bound to get into a firefight. The movie builds pressure with foreshadowing.
It must be something we haven't seen.
And the sheer number and capabilities of the creatures.
How could they cut the power, man?
But Aliens is clearly designed more for thrills than frights. This round goes to... Much of the levity in Alien comes from Parker.
I feel dead. Anybody ever tell you look dead, man?
His camaraderie with Brett,
What are you, some kind of parrot? Right.
and their shared obsession with getting a fair cut of profits.
We deserve full shares, right, baby?
In Aliens, jittery Private Hudson, a breakout role for Bill Paxton, contorts his face into hilarious expressions while spouting some of the most memorable and often repeated one-liners in history.
How do I get out of this chicken shit outfit?
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down. Stop your grinning and drop your linen. Hey, maybe you haven't been keeping up on current events, but we just got our asses kicked, pal. Game over, man. It's game over.
This round goes to... Both Alien and Aliens are justifiably praised, and stand the test of time incredibly well. Their accomplishments before the advent of CGI are extraordinary. Aliens is one of the last great analog genre films, thanks in part to Cameron's own personal experience in effects work. Each movie was also a box office hit, and both received numerous award nominations and wins, including Oscars for Best Visual Effects. Both would also influence countless science fiction, horror, and action movies to follow, some more shameless than others. With its deliberate pacing, Ridley Scott's Alien is a masterclass in suspense, getting audiences' hearts racing with fear and paranoia. But James Cameron's Aliens pumps it full of adrenaline. Besides the amped-up energy, the exhilarating sequel broadens the creatures of the title and deepens the character of Ripley.
I can handle myself.
In this outer space showdown, ultimately the edge goes to Aliens.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our JoBlo Videos channel. Tell your friends who like this sort of content, and turn on the bell to receive notifications for all our latest videos. We are an independent company, and we appreciate your support.